Now wait a minute. Guardian Angel. Conscience. Is Clarence just Jiminy Cricket in human form? Welcome back to the holiday playlist, y'all. I hope you guys are having a very, very happy holiday, all cozied up in your homes. And as always, I thank you all so much for stopping by, and I hope you enjoy your stay. And just in case you missed the last entry into this playlist, I just reviewed the Polar Express on the channel yesterday. That was a really fun video to make as well, and I'll leave a link to that at the end of the video, just in case you missed it. But this time around, we are looking at what I believe is one of the most influential films in history, It's a Wonderful Life. This film was made all the way back in 1946. It was produced and directed by Frank Capra, and it stars Jimmy Stewart as George Bailey, a man who has given up his dreams to help others, and whose imminent suicide on Christmas Eve brings about the intervention of his guardian angel, Clarence, played by the wonderful Henry Travers. And Clarence basically shows George how he, George himself, has touched the lives of others and how different life would be for his wife Mary and his community of Bedford Falls if he had not been born. So this is not only one of the greatest holiday films ever made. Just like A Christmas Story, it is played on TV every single year. People make it a tradition to watch this thing. Even though it was initially a financial flop at the box office, it has of course gone on to achieve legendary status. It's pretty much beloved by everybody who's seen it. It's garnered a bunch of Oscars, and it's one of the most influential films ever made, not just in the Christmas genre, but it's one of the most influential films, period. And it certainly shows with this filmmaking, because on this rewatch, I try to rewatch it every year. Man, oh man, this is just a well-made, well-put-together film. I love It's a Wonderful Life, not only because it gives you that warm feeling that you should be getting every holiday season, but its message is extremely poignant, and it really shows us how precious life is in general. Now, I've only seen it a small handful of times, but I am still absolutely floored by what Frank Capra was able to do with this. And the reason why is because even though it's 75 years old, unbelievably, this movie is not dated. It really feels like the events that are occurring in Bedford Falls could be taking place at any point in history. Nobody's talking like they usually did in the old 40s films. They're talking really fast like this. And this is how I want to do it. I'm gonna light a cigarette. Nobody really talks like that. And I think Frank Capra does a wonderful job with capturing not only the spirit of the season, but the spirit of this man in his little hometown, where everybody seems to know everybody. And George Bailey especially knows everybody. You'll notice, if you've never seen the film before, I mean, I haven't really met anybody who hasn't seen It's a Wonderful Life, but regardless of when you're watching it, you'll notice when George Bailey's mood goes down, it feels like the entire town goes down in mood with him. And then once his spirits are lifted up, once Clarence comes into the picture, the whole town just goes up in spirit with him, and they're offering to save him from foreclosure. Just those little minute details, I think, make It's a Wonderful Life so special. And the film is fairly ordinary for a good chunk of it. They show George Bailey first as a young man with big aspirations. He eventually grows up into Jimmy Stewart, and he inherits his father's business, and he's doing a lot of good for these people with his business. Sure, he's giving him the loans they need, and they appreciate him for what he does. And even though he's got a wife at home with 4 beautiful children, none of this really feels like it's enough for him. He's always had other goals and aspirations. He's always wanted to travel and see the world. But stopping business tycoons like Henry Potter are preventing him from reaching these aspirations. And even though there's a lot of good in his life, he's fairly unhappy with where he is. It's a pretty relatable situation, and it gets incredibly dark. Because as I mentioned near the top of this review, it gets to the point where the only solution he finds is to end his life. And the part where Clarence comes in, beautifully played by Henry Travers, by the way, that's where I think this movie gets even better. He basically shows George what the world would have been like if he was never born. And it creates gigantic ripples in the timeline. And no one's got any clue who he is. And the way Jimmy Stewart plays off of this is just... oh man, is it gut-wrenching. It is truly a magnificent, masterful performance. A lot would argue that this is the Jimmy Stewart showcase. He can really get down in the dumps and show you his lowest low when nobody recognizes him, but then minutes later when Bert the cop recognizes him after his trip to the multiverse, because let's face it, Clarence is pretty much bringing him to the multiverse, y'all. But once he's finally recognized again, he is as chipper as can be. It is some excellent emotional range here, and I gotta say, I laughed hysterically at the fact that he found his totaled car right where he found it, because that was where he left it before he went to the multiverse, basically. Nobody in real life would ever rejoice at seeing their car totaled like that. All these actors are wonderful. Stewart, of course, I mentioned, is magnificent. Donna Reed is really good. Henry Travers, oh my gosh, Henry Travers is so excellent. Everybody just brings their A game here. But I think the thing that really gets me about It's a Wonderful Life, and the reason why it affects me so much, is that timeless message. And Frank Capra is telling us something really simple with a really fascinating narrative. Don't take anything for granted. It is very easy for us to look past the amazing things in our lives, and sometimes he's just basically saying we should be happy with what we have. This is a very prevalent message that still sticks with me today, especially in a year that's been as sucky as this one has been. Even taking 2020 out of the equation, sometimes we just lose sight of the fact that what we're doing with our lives, no matter what it is, it's amazing. Now sure, there's always points where I'd love to be doing more, but honestly, I would not take back any of my life choices ever. I love the path that I've chosen to go down here. Sometimes I feel like we just lose sight of that, and honestly, I think that's actually why everybody watches this every year. Sometimes we just need this feel-good reminder, and it takes a movie like this to remind you of that important little fact of life. That's to me why this is one of the most influential films ever made. I'm gonna give It's a Wonderful Life an A+. I adore this film. The influence that it has, not just in Christmas time, but just on normal life in general, is undeniable. Have you guys seen It's a Wonderful Life? Do you enjoy it? Do you not? What's your favorite holiday classic? I would love to discuss all of those thoughts right down there in the comments below. And if you guys are enjoying my content, if you guys want to keep coming back and continue discussing cinema and all things entertainment with me, this is surely the place to do it. And if you guys are new here, welcome. Please consider hitting that subscribe button down below as hard as you possibly can. It really helps out the channel, number one. Number two, it's free. And number three, you guys will be the first ones to know at any point I upload a new video over here. If you guys enjoyed this video also, please be sure to leave a big fat thumbs up on your way out. I'd really appreciate that. And as always, look out for more exciting content hitting the channel very soon, including the next entry into this very playlist being uploaded over here tomorrow. We're looking at Elf. Man, am I excited to discuss that one. But you guys are awesome. Thank you all so much for tuning in, and thank you for your continued support of the channel. Thank you for continuing to watch these videos. It really does mean the world. With all that being said, back talk, commence.